Everybody enjoying their meal? All right, very good. Somebody, our caterer, is he still out here? How about giving a hand to these people who are tonight bringing our food? And I hope people have been tipping our bartender in the back. You have a fan club already. make sure that you have it. Because in just a few minutes, we're going to do a drawing, and we're going to do 4 of them actually. If you are the first one to be drawn, you will get a complimentary, full, complete registration to our 2024 World Congress. Your room will be your expense, but that Congress registration will be going for $450 next year, and you get one totally free. If you are the second person to be drawn, you get your registration for next year at half price. Okay, so that's good too. And then we have some other prizes and books that were authored by a couple of our board members. We have one by Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni on prayer treatment. And have you seen that book ever? No, you didn't. I took some of these back from an Anthem conference several years ago when I was at the Center for Spiritual Living Nashville, and they were liked so well we used it. So it is absolutely fabulous book on positive affirmative prayer, or as in Science of Mind it is called prayer treatment. So spiritual mind treatment, okay. I think I want to say that some people love correcting. And we will get right on with our program, but just take a moment. If you want more than one chance, if everybody has one, then if you want extra chances on that, you can get an extra ticket for $2, or you can get 3 of them for $5. And like I said, if you win, for 100, we give you 75. And you're bound to win something. You could win a trip, you could win a book, you know. If you'll do that in just a couple minutes, we will have that drawing. And you're going to have some dessert every moment. You're going to have some cheesecake. And anybody who doesn't want their cheesecake, you can just sit right over here on my plate and I'll take care of it.
Our fearless leader. Am I feeling lucky?
Oh,
Let's see what happens.
you know what I've noticed? The black one.
Oh, yeah?
So you've got to go to the button on this side.
Oh, that You have the
And
special.
you did too.
There we go. I think we got them all. Oh, we lost. No, we got it. Yes.
give you a few more minutes for anyone who wants to get some extra tickets here. Right now, you can look, and you see that behind me there. That's just the placeholder coming to, we're going to go live in a few minutes. All right, is there anyone else who wants to buy more tickets before we have our drawing? All right, I'm going to ask our treasurer. Here at this table, we have our first vice president, the Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Not only does she really act as my right hand, she also is an attorney, so I always like that I get that opinion. And she is the president of SHOHAL, does the Gold Rush Women's Conference. She is a staff minister at the Christ Universal Temple. I was about to give her to you, Reverend Charles, and I was going to say, you'd be getting a really good bargain on that. All right? We'll let her say that. I would not want to have to talk to Derek Wells about that. Also, here is our second vice president, the Reverend Neal Worley. And for those of you who don't know this, Neal also is part of our music program, and he can play it, man. That's give him another hand if you will. He makes that, he does a boogie-woogie spiritual blues. He can do it all, so we are just grateful for him. Next table, we have the Reverend George Harris. As I go around and just looking for board members over here, Reverend Candace G. Bill Marcioni. Chief Technology Officer as well, and he keeps us straight on so many things, okay? Or I'm Sunshine Cathedral, okay? So I made a mistake. I said he keeps us straight. He keeps us going gaily forward. Darrell, I thought you would like that. All right.
I appreciate that.
And at this table, we have our treasurer, secretary, excuse me, Candace, is giving away your job. All right, the Reverend Susan Sarus. These people work and they donate their time. When we first became a working board, we went to a program where we had a board meeting twice a month. And it's very time consuming, and we ask a lot of them and they give. So would you just collectively, you gave each one a hand, would you collectively show them God their time? Now, and for everyone here at Sunshine Cathedral, I want to thank you, Kurt, who is up in the back. He has worked with our sound, so we want to give him some love. And tonight, our caterer, I think he's not here, but that's Victor, and I don't remember Victor's last name. Victor Lords, okay. But Victor, if you enjoyed your meal tonight, that has been our caterer, and I am just so grateful for him. And now, with that being said, all right.
Everything I was thinking, I do something there, I'm like, well, your name's on the sign. But I'm actually a guest this week. I just wanted to say, of all the thanks, and thanks to everyone, what a great week it's been. But really, almost 99% of anything that Sunshine Cathedral provided or made possible was because of the Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin. He made anything that he didn't have, he made happen. He is my husband. I may be biased, but that doesn't make me wrong. And he's also an executive minister, and he's just so amazing. He asked me to bring him, he's not going to come out here, because he asked me, we wear shorts pants in Florida a lot. And all day he's been working, and he said, bring these black pants so I can water it up. And I forgot. And so he's not probably come out very much. But if you had any issue and you said I need a thing, and then the thing happened, it was Robert. So thank you, Robert. Yes.
He thought he might be biased, but everything he said, I'll second that. And I will even tell you this: if you ever want to talk to Reverend Durrell, do not try calling him. Don't call the church. If you want to get in touch with him, you get Robert's phone number. All right? And Durrell makes his mother go to Robert. Am I telling the truth?
True story.
True story? Okay. So we want to thank him. I also want to thank New Thought Media Network. They are doing a streaming. And so those who we used to do little memory sticks. And before that, we had CDs. They carried our Congress, all the speakers on it. Now, if you want to do that, we will sell you the links, and you can watch it online anytime. So they're taking care of all that for us. We appreciate New Thought Media Network. They have a lot of really big programming on it, and they also are doing a documentary for during the Parliament World Olympics on New Thought. So with that, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I need to thank. And if I have overlooked someone,
Thank you.
all right. That having been said, and before we get into some awards and the speaker, Reverend Candace G., if you will come over, and we like a person who's young and innocent. And we have a little sit down, Christy. I said innocent, okay? And I think she's laughing, and she stood up because she wanted to help. But she has a little daughter, all right, that is Jolie. And that's about as innocent, and that baby is so sweet. Everyone is falling in love with her this week. And you can give Julie a hand too. She has another daughter, and that is Jasmine. So Jasmine, I'm going to ask you to come up and volunteer. And this is for a full, complete registration to next year's World Congress. You'll pay your own airfare and your rooms, meals, things like that, with the Congress registration. It's all included. You can put suspense in it. There you go. You want to read those numbers?
Let's read it, please. Okay, you ready? We have 2, 3, 7, 0, 6, 8. Anyone get it? One more time. That's my uncle over here. That's my uncle.
All right, so, Eric, there is absolutely no reason for you not to be in the village. All right, now our second prize is a half prize off the registration next year. And for that one, we're going to get another one. Assistant.
3, another 3, 7, 0, 5, and the last one. 2.
All right. Reverend Patricia Wagner. All right, congratulations. Now, we have, the book on prayer treatment, which was handed to me last night, and it's in my computer case back here, but I will bring it out. It is Practical Prayer for Real Results from Reverend Bill Marcioni. And this one I have read and I have taught from it. So I highly recommend it. And pull one more. All right, and then you're going to pull another one after that.
All right, we got one.
All right. You want to, or you want me to read this one or you want to?
I'll read it.
All right. She likes this.
Okay, are you ready? Mom, check my ticket, too. 2, 3, another 3, 7, 0, 7, last one, 9. Did you check my ticket, Mom? Oh. Yeah. Oh my gosh! It's Roe!
All right. Rochelle. You don't need to come up because I have the books in my other, but see me before you get out of here and I'll make sure you get it. And then this book is supposed to be over here. I thought it was. There it is. Thank you. It's the first book that Reverend George Harris has written, and it's called Love is All There Is, The Rest We Made Up. So I like the title. I haven't read this one. This one is brand new. I think it just was printed a few weeks ago. So do one more ticket, and then we're through with the drawings.
Are you ready? This last one. 2, 3, another 3, 7, 0, 8, 7.
Our newest divine science minister in the group tonight, the Reverend Carolyn Young. All right. Thank you. And now, to honor some people, thank you so much, Jasmine. And Christy, I think she has a future in show business. You want to bring me this one over first? And tonight we'll do 3 awards that we give. And quite honestly, if I had realized how helpful Robert was going to be, there would be a 4th one. So maybe we'll have to sneak one to him later. But tonight, we would like to honor the person who has served as our Congress chair. You got to see him up here earlier. He is the one who has done this wonderful ministry here called Sunshine Cathedral. Yeah, and for those of you who may not know this, or weren't here during the week, earlier we came in one morning and we couldn't come in the back way. We had to, in the front doors of the church, we couldn't use them. There were tables out there with groceries and these reusable bags, and we had to circle and come in this door. Because every week they feed 800 people right here. They come and pick up food. That deserves a hand. And this campus, for those of you who may not be familiar, there are other buildings back here that are a part of it. And you have how many different groups and activities here every week? Over 40 groups use the facilities here. And those are various, but they all serve the community. He is the current president of Divine Science Federation International. He and I have actually served on boards. I don't know if he realizes this, but we've served on boards together 3 different times. We were ordained together. And so I consider him my dear friend. I stand with deep respect for the ministry that he has here, and we appreciate him. So, Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, would you come up, please? And it simply reads, it says, International New Thought Alliance, presented to Reverend Darrell Watkins, Doctor of Ministry, 2023 World Congress Chair, Beacon of Love, and the dates are on it, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with love and gratitude. Thank you, my friend.
Very pleased, thank you.
And now, there are 2 other awards, and I'm going to, just a moment, I'm going to bring something over. It's easier than me asking someone to do it, because I'm going to put these right over here. And Reverend Candace, that globe is glass and it's not attached, so it can fall off if you're not cautious. Our first one, if you notice it, it looks like a torch. And it is called our Torchbearer Award. And I'm not lost, everyone. And the Torchbearer Award, a lot of people refer to it sometimes as a Lifetime Achievement Award as well. But our Torchbearer Award is about bearing the torch of new thought. And new thought is a lot of things, but one of those things is about oneness and unity. And for those who have a history, especially in religious science, knows that you know the history perhaps of what started as one organization divided into 2. And then they later were reunified back into one. They called it their integration. And so this gentleman is, before I introduce him, I'm going to tell a little bit about how we met. because he served over that. And I met him first at an IMTA event. He was a district president at that time, and along with his wife. I think that's correct. It may have been her that was listed as such. But they hosted a ministerial enrichment and development conference at their church in Asheville, North Carolina. And he has a Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, as I was going to hold it till I announced him, but I'll just go ahead and say this. He has a way of introducing people. He wants everyone in the room to be introduced by someone who knows them. And he came to me during that, and he said, I know everyone here except you. Do you know anyone here? And I looked around the room, and my response was, John, I know everybody except you. So we both knew everyone in the room except each other. And I often look back at that and laugh, because that was the start of something that developed into a great respect and a wonderful friendship as well. But he'd done so many magnificent things. How many of you remember where you were ordained? Everyone remember where you were ordained? You kind of don't forget that, do you? Well, John didn't exactly come up in the normal path that most people think of in religious science. He met a wonderful and beautiful lady, and well, she was a minister at a church where he went, and we had a name for that back when I was a fundamentalist evangelical. We called that evangelical dating in those days. But she was the minister and a wonderful teacher. We'll talk more about Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse in a moment. But that was an independent style religious science. Well, later became independent. That was actually a CSL or a UCRS church. Am I right? So he came in through that, and later, doing some work with helping Terry Cole Whitaker there, he just did an amazing job with this. And if I remember the story correctly, they had gone out to eat, and they were in a restaurant. And in showing gratitude, Terry Cole Whitaker, who at that point had left CSL, or UCRS, left the movement, looked over and said, John, you've done so much for me this week. What can I do for you? Am I telling this correctly? Close enough, he said. And he said, you can ordain me. And so, literally, was it with the butter knife thing? Yeah. Like the Queen of England knighting someone. She got the butter knife out, and he knelt down, and she did this and ordained him and his wife right there in the restaurant that night. Well, okay, she was someone else's wife at the time. All right. But they were both ordained that night in the restaurant and knighted with a butter knife. Okay. And I'm sure he can tell you the name of the restaurant and everything else, but I remember that story and I can just imagine it. But that was something in his life. He went on along with his wife at that time, Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse, and they founded an independent Science of Mind church in Asheville, North Carolina. And it grew, and it was a success because it had wonderful leadership, and I always think that a church is the reflection of the consciousness of the leadership, and I believe that was very, very good example of that. Later, that church came into the United Church of Religious Science, and later also into Religious Science International, and he was very instrumental, I'll use that word, in bringing those two organizations together, and served as the first president of the United, I don't want to use the word united, of the Centers for Spiritual Living, the group after it was integrated. Now, that's our Torchbearer Award. And normally, I would call him up at this point, and he could accept that award and give a talk. But tonight's a very special night, because we're honoring and doing something that the INTA has never, in my knowledge, done, and that is our second award, which we just started last year. We honored the Reverend Dr. J. Scott Neal, because Dr. J was all about the teaching and was just, a magnificent teacher. So we developed that award to honor those who had done something in the field of New Thought education or New Thought teaching. And this wonderful woman that I have referred to as his wife, the Reverend Barbara R. Waterhouse, okay, and she also the Reverend Doctor, so I'll get that in. But she was such a magnificent teacher. And she left us, I'll word it that way, earlier this year, Easter. I should have had that date down. And as people began to talk, because I get touched by people that I know, and Barbara was just one of the sweetest, most loving individuals, and the thing that I always saw in her as well was kindness. And everything she did, she could look and you could see kindness that came from her eyes. And she was such a magnificent teacher. As I talked to other people, everyone, without exception, when she was mentioned, was what a magnificent teacher that Barbara was. Absolutely amazing. She videoed the first year of the Science of Mind classes and put them online. Now we refer to Emma Curtis Hopkins as the teacher of teachers. Other religious science ministers, other CSO ministers would go online and they would watch Barbara teach the first year Science of Mind, and that was how they planned their classes. She was their inspiration. She was teaching them. So I think she deserves that title also, to tell you the truth, because she was that magnificent. Tonight in your program, I know that John is going to talk a lot about her, so I'm not going to try to tell everything about her. I am going to read a little bit more about John, but she is getting the award here. This one, the Torchbearer of New Thought, I mentioned the shape of it being the flame, because we are lighting that way, carrying the torch of New Thought. The J. Scott Neal Award is a globe, because I believe, and I think that we would agree, that as this teaching is spread, it is about trying to touch this entire world with it. If we really did that, all these other things that we look at, I tell people sometimes they get caught up looking at issues and problems, but I said, if you really get the depth of this teaching, if you get the depth of what New Thought is about, so that you no longer are looking at just, we get caught up in no separation from God, we need to eliminate the separation between each other with that, right? All right, I'm not up here for applause for my talk tonight, I just wanted to say it. So we think that would really do, and we know that Dr. Barbara Waterhouse, her work will continue to touch the world for years to come, because she touched so many, and they're touching another, and another life is touched, and somebody else manages to change their life. And it started right there with a teaching that Dr. Barbara had. So tonight we're going to honor her, and that is a posthumous award. And we are doing that. I'm going to ask the Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse to make his way up. You can see, and these were supposed to be blue and gold, and I don't know, I don't call that blue, but anyway, it's there. It has some, the article that's in it will also be shared in our New Thought magazine, but tonight, that is yours. It shares their history, and this man also not only has a history in ministry and New Thought. I said I was going to share this, and I put it in here. Minister, spiritual teacher, business owner, founder of several nonprofits, author, inspirational speaker, and teacher. He also has touched the lives of thousands, and I will say thousands and thousands and other thousands of people, including my own. But that includes not only here in North America, also Europe. And he is committed to that thing of doing inspiration and motivation to empower people wherever they may be, allowing them to come to a greater level of success. When he has that doctorate title, his is a Ph.D. in organizational psychology. So he's a really smart guy too. Okay. And so I am going to let him, I've already mentioned the center in Asheville. You can read more about that, but I want you tonight, if you would stand and welcome the Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse as he takes the stand.
Thank you, everybody. It's a real honor to be here. I'm so excited to be here because one of my favorite things when I'm speaking is to connect with the people in the front. And here you are. So when Tim called me and told me that the organization wanted to honor Barbara, I told him that I was definitely in. I retired last September to care for her. And because I couldn't run our community and care for her the way she deserved to be cared for, so I left my ministry. And this is the first time I've stood on a stage speaking to people since. So and I'm here because Tim promised me that he would give me a mic and that I could talk for as long as I wanted. No, we're not going to get crazy here. But when he said that I could talk about Barbara, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So Robert, would you start that PowerPoint? Because I want to show us. How many of you personally met Barbara? Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. That's not enough. So I want to introduce you to Barbara tonight. Yes, the love of my life. Yes, my spiritual teacher. Yes, the one that truly made my life work over all these years. And I know that may sound out of principle, giving some power to something outside of myself, but I can't tell the difference. They say when when a baby is born, that the baby cannot tell the difference between themselves and their mother. I feel the same way about Barbara. I can't tell the difference. We were so connected. We would finish each other's sentences and knew exactly what was going on. I trusted her with my life, and she trusted me. And we made that work for 34 years. And it was the greatest part of my life. And I want to actually say that I agree with everything that Tim said about Barbara. She is what I call the quintessential teacher of truth. Now, that's not a put down to everyone else who teaches any part of New Thought. But the reason that I hold her that way comes really from something that Ernest Holmes said, something that he wrote in the Science of Mind text. There's a particular section that's called the final conclusion, which is weird because that sounds redundant, but he made so many conclusions in that book. At the end, he said, okay, this is the final conclusion. And what he said in that was that he would prefer that someone teach this, not teach this teach, but act according to these teachings in everything they did, much more than to know all the principles that are taught. And frankly, this is the way life works. There's a lot of folks going around teaching principles that they're not living. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but Barbara, I watched her for 34 years. She never did that. She believed this 2 weeks before she left me. And she did. She left. And I told her I would find her. And I will. But 2 weeks before she departed, I asked her, so you still believe this teaching? And she looked at me as solid as ever and said, absolutely. She lived this thing. And because of that, she gave me that gift. And I've had some good spiritual teachers in my life, but nothing more powerful than her. No one more powerful than her. No one clearer than her. Now, why is it that she had to go through breast cancer and a severe stroke? I don't know. But it takes nothing away from what she brought to this world. So I want to introduce you. So the picture on the thing is a picture of her teaching. That's because that's what she did. And I agree. And I even heard it since I've been here, that people would go to our website and see her and would be inspired by what she was doing to do their work. And what greater compliment can someone pay than that? But this is Barbara teaching. Okay, Robert, you may need to do this. No, I know what it is. I have to turn it on. No, apparently that doesn't matter either. Robert, are you up there? There we go. So this was Barbara at Sillamar, because every religious science minister goes to a Sillamar, and you can see that she's in her comfort zone there. And next. Barbara was an adventurer, and she was a playful adventurer. So she found herself doing a number of things. Wonder why that's not working. So keep going. We're going to run through the next 2 or 3 real quick. Just wanted to give you a sense. She loved to fish. She loved to fish down here. She learned to fish in South Florida. And she taught me, and I was not a good student. This is a picture of Barbara with a Buddhist monk in northern Thailand, where she purchased from a vendor on the street these strings. They were woven. They were very pretty and colorful. And she had him bless them and brought them back to our community and gave one to everybody. Barbara was extremely generous. In fact, she had a little saying. She said, if you have an opportunity to be generous, take it. Clever, huh? So she brought those back, and people took them, and some people wore them and some people didn't. I put one on my ankle, and it stayed there for 7 years. It's quite amazing. But it was just that connection with this wonderful experience that we had in Thailand. Go ahead, go ahead. So Barbara was into animals. Barbara, in whether they were little animals like this little Siamese named Coco, or this kind of animal on the next slide. You're doing it slowly, aren't you? This was also in Thailand, where she had the opportunity to be with this rather large beast. And then, of course, tigers come in little ones, too. Like this. No, too fast. Whoa! Robert, what's happening back there, buddy? There we go. One more. One more. There it is. Yeah. Just want you to be with that one for a second. She really had a concern about putting her head on that tiger's belly, but the tiger didn't seem to care at all. They got along just great. Okay, go ahead. This is Barbara walking on fire. How many of y'all have walked on fire? Good. Got a couple here. That's something that I learned to do years ago, and she was always my fire tender. It's a remarkable thing to be able to do and not to get burned. What's next up there? And this is proof that we had a long relationship. And you can go ahead while I'm talking, Robert, and run through some more of those. I want to tell you a story about you got to move faster than that, Robert. There you go. There's 6 or 7 like there you go. That was our wedding down in South. No, go back one for me. God, it would be so nice if this friggin' thing had worked, huh? We tested it twice. So, do you notice who's doing the ceremony there? Who our celebrant was? Can you tell? Yes, that's true. It's Mary Tumpkin. She honored us by being our wedding celebrant, and she was one of our favorite people in the world, and we adored her, and she was a really important part of our lives. Thank you, Robert. Keep going. Who else sing up there? That was at a Hawaiian event with religious science ministers. That was in San Diego at an RSI event. I have no idea where that was, but you can tell we were having a good time. That was our 50th birthday. We got old together. And I got older. Keep going. We did lots of ceremonies together. We did a lot of playing together. That was at our beach. We love to go to the beach. Thank you. Stop there. This is an interesting story. I do not recall this gentleman's name, but he traveled from Africa to Asilomar. And we were in, what was the name? Crocker Hall, the dining hall. And this man came up to us, and he looked right at Barbara and said, "Are you Barbara Waterhouse?" She said, "Well, yes, I am." And he introduced himself. And he said, "You, Barbara Waterhouse, are saving Africa." Now, that's a grandiose statement, I understand. But what he was saying is that Barbara's videos were being viewed by people, and he was sending people to watch Barbara and learn from her about what it meant to teach or to live the science of mind. It was a stunning moment for her. But it was true. She was touching lives all over the world. This is such a perfect representation of her life. In her last full year of ministry, our website from our center, which featured Dr. Barbara Waterhouse, had 1.1 million visits. 1.1 million visits. The next year, as the pandemic rolled in and she had her stroke, those numbers were even higher. She was making a difference in the world. And yes, I was on some of those videos too, a lot of them, but that wasn't who people were coming to see. Those of you that have seen Barbara teach, you know what I'm saying. That she has a presence that I've always taught from learning from her. Not that she ever said these words, but I would teach ministers when I had the opportunity. I would say, people, you get up on that stage, you can be as eloquent as you want. You can say the right words, you can teach principle. And people will pay some level of attention to you. But what's really going on is they're watching you. They want to see how you live your life. They want to see who you are in the world. And if this thing called the science of mind, this thing called new thought, is what you're living according to, now they're learning how to be. And that's what people have said to her and now to me for decades, is you have taught me how to live this philosophy. That I've had other teachers and they taught me the ideas, and that was great, but it never got beyond my head. And now it's in my heart. Because that's who Barbara was. That's exactly who Barbara was. So, in her teaching, lives were changed. So many lives. I've got probably thousands of cards from people we never met. I got one just a week ago, a woman who had heard that Barbara had passed, who called and said that her whole life was a struggle, that everything she had gone through was painful, that she had, most of her life, from her early childhood, she had been on medication for depression and for anxiety and for all of these mental conditions. And that simply by watching and that all these medications that she had been on for years, she was off all of them. She was living a healthy, happy, joyous life. And she gave her entire credit to Barbara. And she was right. Barbara could do that. And it's true that we as teachers can't make anybody do anything. But boy, if we create a big enough and strong enough and compelling enough understanding for people to grasp and to embody, their lives can change, and they will. And that's who Barbara was. Let's go ahead and go through the rest of these slides, or I'm going to forget all about that. These are some pictures of just with colleagues and things. Go ahead through a few of these. Stop at that one. There it is. There's Mary right up front. It was Mary's idea to bring the ministers' conference to Asheville. And I'm so grateful that she was able to be there with us. In fact, that's the last time we were with Mary. But we had a grand old time. It was actually the only time I ever dressed in drag. I do too, but I'm not sharing mine. Oh, well, we're out where it's all over then. Anyway, it was a great event, and Barbara had the opportunity to teach there as well, and there was a lot of good things that we shared with our colleagues. What do we got next? These are pictures of Barbara teaching on Sunday. I think most of them are on Sunday, and she would just hold the room. She could hold the room in the palm of her hand. Richelieu from L.A. She said that was her model for being a minister. Frank Richelieu could hold a room in the palm of his hand. He could raise the energy. He could drop the energy. He could raise it again. And that's what she learned to do. And it was magnificent. It was brilliant to watch and experience. Just run through the rest of those while we're doing this. That was her doing a Native American style wedding for two beautiful members of our community. Oh, that's an interesting one. Spiritual Hero of the Year. That's not really the cover of Science Mind magazine. That was a little promotion that we did, though. It was a lot of fun. What else you got up there? Barbara laughing, nothing better than that. And I love that picture. Stop there. Isn't that great? Some people see her that way. Absolutely. It was Devon Embler, our practitioner emeritus, probably the youngest practitioner emeritus in the movement. She became one in her 50s, early 50s. I think she was 51. She was our media director, and she did that for Barbara. I keep that around just to remind me how powerful she was, and the kind of company that she's no doubt keeping in whatever is after this. And then the final one is just a thank you, and we'll leave that one up. So I want to tell you a story about Devon, because apparently this thing of being the quintessential teacher of truth does not stop when you set your body down. So Barbara and Devon were the dearest of friends. Devon would come over on Fridays and spend the afternoon with Barbara. She would climb into bed with her, and they would laugh and have a good time. And they were really tight, and Barbara asked Devon to take some of her clothes. Barbara was quite the dresser. And so Devon went into the closet and came up with some things that she wanted. And after Barbara passed, Devon was teaching. She was teaching online with a group of people. I don't even know where they were from, but it was a group of people that she was teaching, and she was teaching Science of Mind. And somewhere along the way, she was sitting at her desk. It was a Zoom call, and behind her was her printer. And suddenly, in the middle of this teaching session, her printer started printing, and it unnerved her. And her office is in her home. So she told the people on the call that we were going to take a 5-minute break, and that we'd be back. And so go to the bathroom and go get something to drink, whatever you need to do, and we'll pick it back up in 5 minutes. And she raced over to find her husband, who was in the house, and she said, "Rodney, why are you printing something while I'm teaching? You know that unnerves me." He said, "I'm not printing anything." Only the two of them had access to that printer. So they both went to check out what it had printed out, and what they found in the tray was one sheet of paper, and what it had on it was a quote from Marianne Williamson, something you've probably all heard. It's called Our Deepest Fear. You all know that? Anybody not know that? Anybody not heard that? You all know it, or you're at least not willing to tell me you're not. Okay, so I won't read it to you, but it is a very powerful statement. Nelson Mandela used it in his inauguration address, and there it was. Well, it happens too that Barbara used this in her teaching quite a number of times. So Devon picked it up. The class started again online. She said, I wasn't planning this, but right now I'm compelled to share something with you. And she read those words. Nobody on that call had ever heard that quote. And they spent the rest of that class talking about what that meant. How we're not afraid of failing. We're afraid of being magnificent. We're afraid of how powerful we are. And Devon is absolutely convinced, and she has convinced me, that Barbara did that. Now, how does that work? I have no idea. But isn't that an amazing thing? Yeah. So people ask me how I'm doing, and I tell them a day at a time, which is an improvement from a breath at a time. I don't cry every day like I used to, but it wells up from time to time. And when it does, I let it be okay. I've got a good friend who right now is living in L.A., who is, how do I describe him? He's a man of many spiritual interests, which include the Hindu teachings. And he said, I have learned some tools that might help you with your grief. And I said, no, thank you. Right now, I need to feel this. And what that reminded me of was a poem. And it's a Sufi poem by Rumi. And Sufi poetry is shared to music. So I've asked Barbara, which is just perfect, to share some sounds as I share a Rumi poem that really speaks to what I'm saying. It's called Love Dogs. One night, a man was crying, Allah, Allah. His lips grew sweet with praising until a cynic said, so I've heard you calling, but have you gotten any response? And the man had no answer for that. He quit crying and fell into a confused sleep. He dreamed he saw Kadir, the guide of souls, in the thick green foliage. Why did you stop praising? Because I never heard anything back. The longing you express is the return message. The grief you cry out from draws you toward union. Your pure sadness that wants help is the secret cup. Listen to the moan of a dog for its master. The whining is the connection. There are love dogs no one knows the name of. Give your life to be one of them. A woman was crying, Allah, Allah. And so it is. So my word to you tonight is love as much as you can. Every day, do it unconditionally. And when those bonds break, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt deep. But what I promise you, that journey of love will be great enough that you can handle the pain and still praise that one that held your heart. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
That is one of those things that you're almost speechless after that. And tonight, I want to just take that moment and that feeling, that knowing of lovingness. And I think of other times and things over the years that John did, and I can remember one particular time he was in Nashville in a conversation we had, and it was actually in a restaurant, a lot of people there, but it let me know that no matter where he was and no matter where he went, I guess it's okay to share this, I hope it is, but Barbara had also gone through a 12-step program, and John didn't have to go through a 12-step program, but he had made a commitment to her, and that was part of his support. So he's sitting in a restaurant in Nashville, she's back in Asheville, and people are having a glass of wine and drinking, and John didn't. He had something else, and when I asked him about it, he said no, he didn't have any issue. It was a commitment he made to Barbara, and he had that faithfulness and that commitment no matter where. And I could tell just in the way he said it, the deep love that was there. And I respected him so much for that love and that commitment. So tonight, would you again, and for both of them, you know, there's so much he didn't tell about himself. Like being 26 years at one church, you know, and that was the one they started. And some people, they go through 26 churches in 26 years. You know? So he was one to have a commitment, and that commitment worked. So would you once again honor the Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse and the Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse. And with that said, we did start just a little bit behind schedule tonight. So it is really about time that we close. I think we have the space here until 10. So what were the plans for music, Christy? You are a music person. We are complete? All right. All right, so he's going to come out and sing, and our open bar back here is still here. He's, I think we said you could close at 9:30 because we expected to be a little bit more, so it's that time. If anyone wants to make a mad rush back there and get a last cocktail of some sort, do that now. And other than that, more G. Oh, he's back. I was waiting for him to come out. All right. I will say that if you choose to leave, go and be blessed in everything you do. I know that you already are, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next year at Unity Village. Thank you.